Okay, so we will break up this session. Obviously, this is a first meeting, so again, similar to what Claire's done with you guys last week. So today, I'll break my first meeting with a client into two sessions. So session one is really consisting of probably say the first half an hour of the meeting, which is a little bit of rapport, which then goes on to a little bit of the pitching the company and pitching yourself, completing a fact find, and then highlighting a couple of areas of concern. Once you've done that with the client, it allows you to go into a disturb, okay, which will allow you to, if a client says, okay, I've got a shortfall in retirement, it allows you to do some retirement calculations to say, okay, if you want $2,000 per month, well, how much money do you need across your pension pots in order to draw that money in an efficient manner? So, and after you've done the disturb, you then go into what's called a product build. Okay, so explain to the client if they need a savings plan or if they need a portfolio bond or they need an RDAN account. There's a couple of points that you kind of highlight to kind of make the client aware of, I guess, some of the features around that suggestion or that recommendation. So first meeting, to go and sit down with a client. The primary objective of any first meeting is to complete one of these. Yeah, if you don't complete one of these, your chances of attaining business from the client drops dramatically. Okay, so really, really important that we get one of these done. Okay, and a lot of it is to do with controlling the meeting. Good advisors will control meetings. Bad advisors will get controlled by the client. It's really important to get into your mind that if you're sitting down with a client, that you're in charge of that meeting. That client is in because they need some financial advice, or there's a couple of areas that they want to look at. If we go in and when we go into a doctor's office, I always use parallels between what we do and what doctors do. Yeah, if you go into a doctor's office, into a GP and say, I've got a couple of issues, and they ask you questions, you say, oh, well, I'm not giving you that information. The doctor will look at you like, well, what are you talking about? We are in a consultation here. You've got there's an issue, there's an underlying issue here. Do you want a recommendation? Yeah, the doctor's never going to prescribe something without asking you what your symptoms are, how long you've been taking it. Yeah, you've got to get this information. Okay, so I think the first part of any meeting, as I'm sure you'll all agree, is rapport. And I would spend no longer than 5 to 10 minutes on this section. When you're building rapport with the client, though, it's really important to try and gather information, key information. What kind of questions can you ask a client in a rapport building process to that will give you key information in regards to taking them on as a client?
Family, kids.
Family.
Hobbies, aspirations.
Yeah, I'd go aspirations.
What brings them to this region? How long have they been here for?
Yeah.
How long do you anticipate to stay for?
How long so far? Duration?
Are you currently working here?
Probably know that. Children, I think, is key. Mm-hmm. I think just generally asking them, like, do they like it here? Do they like their current job? Another key question I always ask is, have you got any holidays coming up? There's nothing worse than getting to an end of a fact find, doing a really, really good meeting and saying, okay, look, let's sit down and come out and see you next week. They go, no, I'm away for a month. What's key about this question?
It presents you opportunity to discover if there's education needs
Yep.
for education planning.
Yep.
They may have, other needs that are a result of their family members, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think as well, speaking about spouses as well. Yeah, do you make financial decisions together? Is a question which comes just after the basic details of the fact find. One of my first clients that I took on, and it's hard to do this, but I did it and it ended up being one of my biggest clients. So I asked if they made financial decisions together. He said yes, and I ended the meeting because there was no point moving forward. Yeah, because you can try and explain everything to the client, and they've got to go back and explain to their spouse, and then they come back up. I spoke to my spouse. We don't want that. They will miss it. They won't explain it in the same manner that we can. So it's really important to gauge that information, and you'll get that a little bit from when you're speaking. Wife and children out here, husband and children out here. Okay, are they working currently? Yeah, they work. Who's earning the most? Are you making joint financial decisions together? So again, it's up to you how you want to report. You've got to find, I guess, common interests. But I think it's important to ask certain questions to build a picture of the client. Before you start to get into it. Okay. After you kind of see 5-10 minutes go by, it's really kind of want to say, okay, look, we need to get into this, otherwise we're going to be talking to each other about the football, about the Middle East, about your experiences for the next half an hour. So let's begin. Yeah, I do that pretty much in every first. I'll kind of cut the rapport, go, right, anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves, right, let's begin. Yeah, so saying that, the client kind of jumps in and goes, right, okay, we're going professional again. Yeah, then I refer to this as setting the pace of the meeting. And by that, I basically tell the client, okay, let's begin. Okay, so what we're going to do today, Mr. Client, is that I'm going to basically tell you a little bit about the company. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I work, and then it's all over to you. And what you're saying without saying it is saying, you're not speaking now, I'm speaking, then it's your turn to speak. And you're effectively saying, okay, I'm going to tell you a bit about the company, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I work, and then we're going to get into this document. Yeah. When we get into this document, all of this is, I'm going to get some headline figures off you. Yeah, this is a fact find. Yeah, the fact find is a blueprint of your current financial position. Yeah, and what this is going to allow me to do is identify areas and gaps that we can plug. Okay. So, a little bit about the company. When we used to do the traditional consultant course, they used to give us a 2-page script on the pitch, which we would need to learn word for word and then recite and read back. Now, I remember at the time, obviously I'd been a BDM for quite a while. I'd sat in on meetings, and I thought that it was really, really wordy, really, really cheesy. But actually, all of the points in there were really important. And I did a training session when I first stepped up he was the #1 consultant in the world, you know, had done this a number of times, and he basically went through all the key parts in the pitch, but he would say things across that pitch which would handle potential future objections. And that's what's really, really important about the pitch, is you're giving them key information and saying things which will handle an objection that could come up later down the line. So what are key objections that we sometimes find with clients why they don't go ahead?
No money.
Not the right time.
Timing.
Markets.
Already have that financial advisor?
That's more on the phone.
Yeah. They wouldn't come.
What's the dreaded thing that we don't want a client to do sometimes? We feel like we're hoping they're not doing.
Trust, like they want to go away and think about it? Or?
Yeah, I'd say more going on here.
Okay.
Like bad reviews. Yeah, things like that. Yeah, but
DIYs?
sorry.
DIY? Did they do it themselves?
Yeah. Moving country, I think sometimes. Yeah, I didn't want. You know, I'm not going to go ahead. I'm actually going to leave in 18 months. There's no point of us working together.
They have a financial advisor back home.
Yep. So, the 4 key areas that we want to be discussing in this this pitch, I'm going to take you. I'll highlight them here, and then I'm going to do my pitch with you guys. Then I'm going to go back and I'll go through certain points in the pitch and things that I say, which will look to handle these potentially. So that before the second meeting, they come back and say, they go, oh no, actually I've changed my mind, or you know what, actually I'm not going to come to that meeting now because of X, Y, Z. Objection handling is not about capturing or bringing 100% back of people who have put the objection in front of you back into the fold. What it's designed to do is to capture that 20 or 30%. Yes, it's not going to work every time, but it certainly will work some of the time. So the 4 key areas are world's largest independent financial advisory, servicing, independent, and fees. Key areas. So, like I said, I'm going to go through and do my pitch. So a little bit about the company. So obviously the DeVere Group, where I'm calling from and who I represent, are the world's largest independent financial advisory. So to put that into some stats for you, last year we did business in over 100 countries. We've got, I believe it's 50 to 60 offices worldwide now. And yeah, we've got in the region of 80 to 100,000 clients worldwide. So you can see that we're a really, really big organisation. But it doesn't mean much, being really big. Because it's actually, this business that we're in is an advice-driven business. Okay? So, and what I mean by that is that if you get bad financial advice from a big company, it's still bad financial advice. And you as a consumer and a client are better off getting good financial advice from a one-man band than getting bad financial advice from a big company like DeVere, right? Right. Okay, so we are really big, but the main thing is that you're working with someone who you can trust, who knows what they're doing, and is going to give you the right advice. But where I probably would have to bring the size of the company back into it is this ongoing servicing. So being such a large company, what we find is that a lot of clients who are based here in the Middle East actually will prefer to work with us than the local banks, because we both know that the train's coming into the station at one day, and we are going to leave this tax-free environment, and we are going to move back into a taxable environment or move on to the next opportunity. Expats go where the opportunity is. We both know that if it was me or if it was you, if we get a job offer that we can't refuse and it's in Tokyo, well, it's a job offer that we can't refuse. A lot of the time we'll speak to the family and say, look, this is an offer too good to give up. We are relocating. The company are going to pay for everything. The package is better. We are going to be in a far better financial position. In 5 years' time, if we make this move, let's move. So where we take a lot of clients from local banks and whatnot is because where we're such a large institution, we are really well versed in giving you ongoing advice. So let's say your next job is in Milan, or it's in Shanghai, Tokyo, Sydney. We've got offices in all these jurisdictions. Now, if you do move back into that jurisdiction and you feel like you want someone in the ground, you want to come into an office like you're sat now and work with someone face to face, we've got you covered. At the same time, if you actually want to continue working with me, that's also not a problem. So clients really, really warm to the fact that they're working with a company that can stay with them across their professional career. Very, very different to if you're a client of Emirates NBD. You tell them you're leaving and you've got an investment account with them, a current account, what do you need to do? Close everything. We do not want your business, take your money and leave. Then you're going to go to your next jurisdiction and you're going to go into your next bank. And then they're going to have to give you information on all the new kind of options that you have. And then you've got to make another decision. This can obviously hinder financial planning in the long term if we're constantly jumping in and out of jurisdictions and changing underlying investment platforms. So I think for me, that's where the size, really, really does matter from a client point of view. So in terms of the company, like I said, we're the world's largest independent financial advisory. So that word independent is really important. And all that means is that I'm not tied to any one institution. You know that if you go into HSBC and ask for a savings account, what are you going to get? You're going to get an HSB savings account. And within the HSB savings account, what kind of funds are you going to get?
HSBC.
HSBC, every single fund. It's going to be HSBC. Now, when you come through an independent advisory like myself, we can look at the whole market for the underlying platform. This is absolutely key. If I'm sitting down with a client who's going to be ending up in America, and then an hour later I'm sitting down with a client who's going to be ending up in the UK, and they're the exact same profile, I might have different underlying investment platforms because I know that this investment platform works best for someone retiring in the States. I know that this investment platform, without a shadow of doubt, that's for people ending up in the UK. If someone's going to be ending up in Europe, that sometimes can be a different platform. Again, what's really, really key is because a bank or, a lot of local financial institutions who aren't globally, it's one size fits all. You need to invest 100,000, that's the platform you get, that's the underlying investment that you get. Whereas when you come with someone who's independent, we can go to the full market and we can tailor it for you. When it comes to the underlying investments, obviously we can use HSBC funds, we can also use Barclays funds, we can use UBS funds, we can use we can use Vanguard, we can use BlackRock, we can use any kind of underlying fund house to provide you investment funds for your portfolio. Again, it's why I think that a lot of clients prefer to come to us, because you can get a much more wider scope of platform providers and underlying investment providers. Okay. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, at this stage, we've been sat down now, I know that my BDM said that there's no cost for today's meeting. Yeah. there will obviously be fees at some stage if you become a client. But in terms of today's meeting, there's only one fee if you want to construe it that way. And we're going to conduct this fact find, and if we get to the end of the meeting and we find that there's a couple of areas that we can help you out with, and I'm going to go away and do a bit of work, or even if we come to the end of this fact find and I say to you, you are sorted. Yeah, there's nothing that you need to do. You're in tip-top shape. If we get to the end of this fact find and I've added value and you think I've done a good job and I've been thorough, I'm going to ask you for a couple of introductions. Introductions, maybe one person you work with and one person that you socialise with on the weekend. Is that fair? And answer the question, is that fair? They will never say, no, that's not fair. They'll say, yeah, okay, let's see how it goes. If I do go away and do some work, and I come back, let's say this time next week, and there's an underlying platform that I'm going to provide you, everything will be documented in black and white in terms of what the ongoing costs will be and what the ongoing fees will be. But again, because we're independent, and we're very nimble in terms of the kind of stuff that we can offer to clients, different platforms have different fees. If a client needs, say if a client says, I've got $10,000, I need to just save in a short-term account because I'm buying a house next January, that's going to have different fees to someone who's, looking to put £250,000 into a trust that's going to pay their children income or settle a tax bill after they die. They're two different solutions and they'll have two different sets of fees. So it's really hard for me at this stage to say that's what this is all going to cost you. So we'll go into this and we'll press on with the fact find and we'll see what we can do. Okay? Now, a little bit about me and how I work. Introduce yourself. So for me, obviously my pitch is going to be totally different right now in terms of how I pitch myself to how I was doing it when I first started, when I was in the first 6 months of the role like you guys. Yeah, it evolves. Right now, I'd say, I've been out here for X amount of years. I've done a number of different roles within the company. Really, really settled here. I love it here. I'm going to be here for at least another 5-10 years. Why would I leave and go back into a taxable jurisdiction? Okay. In terms of how I work, like I've mentioned to you a couple of times, today it's just a bit of a fact-finding process. I want this to be really conversational. I want you to tell me what you want and tell you what your goals are. Yeah, I'm going to be asking you some headline figures in terms of your finances. And like I said, I would describe this as a blueprint of your finances. It's just going to show me where you are now or where you want to be in the future and different ways that we can get you there. Then you're into the fact find. Okay, right. Yeah, so you've kept control of the meeting. Yeah, you've told them key bits of information. Now, when I've gone through there, world's largest independent financial advisories. We're big, we're massive, we're the best. But it doesn't mean much. So the sales angle there for what I'm doing is I'm giving them a load of, I'm trying to big us up, but then I take it all away. Yeah, and I say, but it doesn't mean much. Because the main thing is that you're working with someone that you trust and you get on with who knows what they're doing. Do you know what? I missed out a bit that I usually do, but it's really, really good. Graham Bentley, the guy who put this who taught me the pitch, he says. So he says, the main thing is that you're working with someone that you trust and is good at what they do. Because we all have bad people in our organisations. There's some people that you're working with where you're like, right now you're like, bloody hell, they are good at their job. There's some people you're like, yeah, they're okay. And there's some people you're like, how have they got a desk still? Yeah? Now, all of you have thought about those three people in your rooms, in your organisations, or at the last organisation you were with. We won't name any names. But it's right, it's just a matter of life. It doesn't matter whether it's this industry, whether you're in oil and gas, whether you're in consultancy, everyone's got those people in their office. Yeah, and you'll get a bit of a laugh out of them, like I did with you guys. When you say there's people who are really good, people are like, yeah, okay. There's people like, how on earth have they still got a desk? So by doing that, what objection there are you going to be potentially handling?
The search.
Correct. I've gone online, I've read some bad stuff now. What was the first thing that I said to you? So, yes, we're a massive company. We've got over 80,000 clients worldwide. If you go online, read it, you might see 10 comments. What's that as a percentage? I told you there's good people, average people and bad people. Fortunately, this happens. Like I said, 8 times out of 10 they say, no, I've got the jitters. Yeah, but 1 or 2 will go, okay, actually you did say that. Let's have a secondary meeting. Let me see what you're going to present to me. Then I bring it back and I go into servicing, ongoing servicing, where we are globally in the world. Yeah, everywhere. If you move on, you can work with someone. If you move on, you can work with me. What's this cover? Moving. I remember as a BDM, used to lose a couple of deals to that. We'd sit good meetings. They say, I'm actually leaving. We lost a deal to another advisor because they said, oh, I'm going to be leaving here and that advisor can work with me wherever I am. I remember losing a deal to that. So by kind of giving them that option, you're saying that, look, no matter where you go, we're going to be here for you. Then I go into being independent. Yeah, we can use the whole market. This might be how handle objection later down the line if you're offering them a Friends Provident IPME, like an insurance policy, or you're offering someone a Royal London savings plan. Oh, I don't like Royal London. That's fine. We're not tied to them. If we don't like them, I can go and show you some different options. You can go back, present a second option, be like, look, the reason why I went with Royal London is because of X, Y, and Z. As you can see over here, it's actually 1, 2, and 3. So I feel like this is still the better option. But if you've got something against Royal London, then that's fine. We can go with one of these other large institutions. Then I go on to fees, and speak about the fees. This will always be something that comes up. I spoke to my advisor back home. Your fees are high. You kind of say, you go to them and say, well, wait a second. I haven't even given you my recommendation. I told you that there's a number of different fees that are out there in the market. Let me come and show you. Sometimes the clients will not sit down on a second just because they don't, they're not absolutely crystal clear on what the fees are if you don't address this properly. So again, like you can see, there's a couple of things that to say within that pitch which will handle future objections, but also they are, as I'm sure you can kind of imagine, they're key points that the client needs to know. Then with the second, in terms of telling them about yourself and how you work, you're keeping control. Yeah, you're telling them, look, we're going to go through this, fact find. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go away. If there's something that we can help you out with, I'm going to do some work for you. I'll come back next week and I'll present to you. Not send you an email after with my full recommendation. Let's say you're wasting half an hour, 45 minutes of your time writing emails. Yeah, I'm going to go, we're going to do this, highlight a couple of areas, then I'll come back and I'll present some solutions. Okay? So, fact finds. I'll get through this very, very quickly. But before, if you look at all of my old fact finds when I used to write them out, my first question here I got from Reese. So look, before we get into this, what do you want to achieve from working with a financial advisor? It's quite a strange question to ask someone. It's the question that they probably wouldn't have been asked before, and they'll have to think. Sometimes a client will just start giving you information. Well, I've got 100k in the bank, I need to do that, I've got a pension, I don't know anything about that. Yeah, they'll start potentially giving you things that you can that we can offer. So you can just jot that down. Yep, it's no problem, we do that. And you'll sometimes see maybe a 2, 3, 4, 5 minute discussion on that, and them just telling you stuff that they're wanting. You say, okay, that's no problem. then what I would always do, and I'd always try and highlight, you come back to them before you get into that and get a couple of yeses. Just before I get into this, especially if it's like, say, someone from the UK with UK experience, I'd say, okay, are you sending money out of the country? Yeah. Okay, you using one of the major banks? Yeah. Okay, well, we can save you considerably on the FX transfers. Yeah, it's a really simple service. It's not designed to make you rich overnight, but it could save you $10, $20, $30 a month, which when you look at it over the course of a year, that's your £400. Yeah, that's a flight home or a new TV. Yeah. Next time, how much do you roughly transfer for a month? 50,000 dirham. Okay, I'll keep that in mind because we can definitely help you there. Sometimes you'll get into a discussion with someone, speak to them, and they'll be like, oh, you know what I did actually? I sent some money. Because it's something that they're doing all the time, and naturally what you do is you send the money hits your account, you go, wait a second, you go on to XC and you're like, $300 difference here? It's quite a lot of money. But you just don't really kind of think about it when you're doing it. You need to send money home, you go onto your app, you link your other account and you send it. If they're from the UK, always go national insurance. Yeah, are you up to date with all your state pension? Have you sorted that out? Again, you might get someone go, no, you know what, I really need that. Okay, no problem, we can do it. It's really straightforward. It's a form. What I usually do is that after the meeting, I'll pop you that over. You need to print it, complete it, and wet sign it. But on the next meeting, next week, if I come back to you, just have that ready, we'll fill in the gaps and I'll get that sent off. We've got a DHL service here which sends between 5 and 20 every fortnight back to the UK. So again, you're just highlighting areas that you can help them with because it engages them, and all of a sudden you haven't even got into anything and they're thinking, oh gosh, there are quite a few things here that they can help me out with. There's been no profiling done of the client. You identify a couple of areas, I think it can really increase the amount of times that first turns into a second. Yeah? Okay, so then you're into the fact finds. Now, I know that you've done sessions with Claire. I think Claire did quite in-depth session on fact finding. When I do my fact finds, I'm fairly in and out, because I don't make it too painful for the client. I know what key bits of information I need, so I can go away and I put some advice together, and I identify what areas I need to help the client with, essentially. So, like, do you need to ask them what the date of birth of their children are? No. Do you need to know what their wife's name is? Or date of birth? Rarely. Do you need to know what the names of their individual banks are that they're with? Not really.
So how long normally after the report you take doing the whole questionnaire? The whole fact find after you do the report and the introduction and everything, just on the on those pages, like how long do you take?
It depends on the client and how engaged the client is. Yeah. Another key technique, people, for doing fact finding, only one page. Don't ever give the client the fact finds. Keep control. This is your document, not theirs. Yeah. So you go into it. Over here, you've probably got, you've obviously got quite a lot of information. Then I would always say, what's your current age? So I'll go through how I complete a fact find, and you know what? Just for example, to show an example, I will fact find you, Raoul. Okay, so you can actually see the pace a lot of the time in which I go through a fact find. Okay, so Raoul, what's your current age?
26.
You're 26, and what's your date of birth?
4th of March 1997.
97. Are you single?
Yeah.
Cool. You're obviously Venezuelan, you mentioned before?
And Spanish. Yeah.
And Spanish, okay. What passport do you hold?
Both.
Okay, both. Important to ask that, yeah, if you're doing illustrations and whatnot. Obviously, you're living here in the UAE, you work for X company. What's your position there?
Advisor.
Advisor, okay. You mentioned it well before, you've been offshore for 3 years now, right?
Offshore for 9 years.
Okay, perfect. Do you have a financial advisor here, anywhere else?
No.
No, okay, and obviously you're single, so no one else making the financial decisions, this is all on you?
Just me.
Perfect.
And my dog.
Perfect, yeah. Well, that comes on to my next point. Have you got any dependents? Do you have any children or anything?
No.
Okay, cool. No. Okay, that's the basics done. So next section is what's coming in, what's going out. So what's coming in, that's easy. That's a figure that stays the same every single month. What's the full company package that they're giving you at the moment? So including all your benefits, what's hitting the bank account every month?
No idea. Let's say 3,000 euros.
Okay, 3,000 euros. Perfect. Now, in terms of what's going out, obviously that's going to change depending on whether it's Christmas, depending on whether it's summer, depending on whether you're behaving and you know got training for a marathon. But on average, of that 3,000 euros, what's left after you spend like the rent, your going out, your food? What's the ballpark figure?
Spend around 2,300 euros per month.
Okay, so we've got 700 disposable. Perfect. Any debt?
No.
No debt. If they, at that point, if they come and say, I've got mortgages, say, don't worry, we'll get onto that in a moment. Okay, so next section is just short-term deposits, financial jargon for bank accounts. So I take it you bank here.
Bank it not in the UAE, but in the US and Spain.
Okay, but you will, the person will have a bank. Yeah. Play ball. Play ball, Ralph. So you bank here, you bank in the US, and you bank, where was that third place you said? In Spain?
Spain, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then, I don't need the exact figure, but ballpark, what's built up in liquidity across those three accounts? Roughly, it doesn't need to be exact.
22
Is that dollars or euros?
euros.
Okay.
That was euros in.
Okay, cool. Do you know what interest rate you're getting on that at the moment?
No idea.
Okay. Next, investments. So this is like your pensions. This is any stocks and shares accounts. This is crypto accounts. Yeah. So in terms of investments, underlying investments, Raul, what do you have? What have you got? Have you got any pensions?
No.
Okay. Do you have any investment accounts?
Yeah. So
Okay. So
20k in stocks, 20,000 in stocks.
okay. Whereabouts is that held? Is that
That's in Sabadell in a broker in the US.
Okay, that's in the US. So you got about $20,000 in that
Dollars.
one. Okay. What else do we have?
12,000 in bonds in euros,
Okay.
and like $15,000 in Bitcoin.
Perfect. Okay. Property. So what property do you own globally?
0.
Okay. Is that something of interest to you?
Yes,
Okay. Where in an ideal world would you like to purchase?
in the UAE.
Okay, locally. And then what would this be? Would this be an investment or would this be somewhere for you to live?
Cash flow generating, so yeah, an investment.
Okay. Insurance.
Life insurance.
Do you have any, so outside of work employment, always say that, because work employment, we always keep that separate. Do you have, I take it you'll have something with work where they pay you a certain amount of your annual income if you pass away.
Yeah.
So other than that, do you have any life insurance policies that will pay out, that will help you out if anything happens to you?
Only critical illness.
Okay, and how much is that for?
I think like 500k.
How much you pay monthly on that?
60 euros a month.
Okay.
50 euros a month.
Okay, perfect. Are you a smoker?
Yeah.
You are. Okay. Because what I'll do is sometimes we can reduce that cost for you. So I'll go away and I'll have a little look. I've got your nationality, your date of birth. I'll play around in the system. There might be something there that we can help out. Do you have? So you've got critical illness. Do you have any life insurance that will pay out to your loved ones if anything happens to you?
No life insurance. No life insurance.
Is that something of interest?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
So
Who,
you ask.
who would you like that to go to? Chat of it, like who would
My
you?
sister.
Okay. Do you have a will in place?
No.
Okay. Really advise that you do something that, especially here locally under Sharia law. If something happens to your, if something happens to you on Sheikh Zayed Road tomorrow, any funds that you've got in your account, do you know how that's dealt with under Sharia law?
No.
Okay, so it's essentially, is your father still alive?
Yes.
Okay, so your father will have to come to the UAE to release that fund.
Sure.
Yeah, it can be really, really messy sometimes. So if you have a Sharia compliant will, it's actually really quite straightforward. I can point you in the right direction. It can make it a lot easier for a local bank here to disperse your cash without someone coming here, staying here for 2 weeks and going through the rigmarole of going to the bank with death certificates and attaining that cash. So certainly keep it in mind. Like I said, I can show you. I can show you where to get one of those. Okay, so last bit is on to retirement, the good stuff. Okay, so I take it, you know, you're like a lot of my clients, you'll be retiring at 65?
Sure, 65, yeah.
Okay, and where do you envision you retiring?
Bali,
Bali? Okay, nice. Definitely?
100%.
Lovely. Okay, cool. And let's say you're 65 tomorrow. Let's imagine you've paid off your investment property, you've got a house over in Bali that's all paid for. Yeah, you know, there's no real kind of big cost to outlay. Yeah, so it's just pure spending money. In today's terms, how much would you want in an ideal world paying you on a monthly basis so that you can travel when you want to and you can live the kind of lifestyle that you want to live?
10K. Monthly.
Dollars, euros?
Dollars.
$10,000. Okay. Raoul, that's the boring stuff over. That's done. At this stage, you stop and you review and you look back and you go, okay, well, Raoul, there's probably quite a bit of work that you need to be doing here. You know, at the moment, you know, you've you know, so there's some good things here in terms that you've already started investing. That's really good. In terms of funding those investments, how do you do that?
So on a regular monthly basis.
Okay.
So DCA, discounted, DCA, numerical average.
Okay. But nothing's really automated.
No.
Okay. So, okay. I think you're quite a typical client. Yeah, in terms of that, you know, you've got a fairly good bit of disposable over here. I take it the disposable just goes straight into the bank account, and then after a little while you'll disperse that into an investment account.
Investments,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So what will usually, you know, looking at this, Raoul, I think something that could certainly be of interest to you, other than obviously the fact life insurance, I'll look at that, is I guess potentially looking at some of this cash that you've built up here, and make sure that it's working for you. So at the moment, would you say that's a little bit high? You know, have you got that cash in the bank?
It's not needed, so it definitely could be invested half of it or something.
Okay, has anyone spoke to you about you know, like an emergency fund, like, you know, how much you need in case you lose your job here?
No.
Okay.
I guess 3 months of life expenses.
Okay, 3 months. So what's your current expense? About 2,500?
2.3, 2.4 thousand.
Okay. What I usually do, Raoul, is if someone tells me that they need 6,000, I add 50%. So I would say leave 9 to 10 and look at getting some of that other cash to work. What kind of returns have you been getting on your investments down here?
I lost money in 2022.
Yep.
But in average like 12%, no, 10% per year, something like that.
Okay. Well, in the next meeting, you can, if you want, you can send me some of that and I can do some real analysis on some of those investments for you. I can plug in. Thanks, that. Nice. Okay, so I think certainly looking at some of that cash, and I know that you'd really like some of these savings plans. Yeah, something that's a little bit more structured, because you've said here that you want $10,000 a month. Do you know how much money you need across all your investment accounts in order to generate you this efficiently?
I haven't calculated it. So you can definitely help you with that.
Okay. It's something that I will do for every single client I take on, whether they're 30, whether they're 45, or whether they're 65. I will always conduct a retirement calculation because I think it adds value. Okay? Then you're into the next part. Then you're into the disturbed guys. Yeah, then you're into, okay, well, you've got a massive, massive shortfall here. And I'll use this example in the next session. Yeah? But that's really the structure. Yeah, in terms of pitch, telling them exactly what the process is in terms of we're going to sit down today. If we find a couple of areas, I'll come back and show you. Front of the fact find, try and identify some key areas that they want help with, and then grab the information, the headline details, go back, review, and start to pinpoint a couple of areas. That was obviously quite a hard profile. Yeah, but you sit down with someone, they've got like $500,000 in the bank. Obviously, the discussions open up massively. I've started doing this quite sternly. If you sit down with someone who is like, yeah, I've got disposable of $5,000 a month, I've been out here 10 years. You should think, $5,000 a month, okay, 10 years, okay, so what's that? 60,000, okay, so it's going to be about $600,000 knocking around somewhere in this. And then you get to the end, and they're like, you've got 20 grand in the bank there, you've got 100 grand in investments, you've got about 100,000 in this property that you've bought 10 years ago, which I know that you put money in there. I'm going to be honest with you, something doesn't add up here. Yeah, because you said 5,000 a month, you've been out here 10 years, your disposable is about 5,000 a month. Has it been in and around that all the time? Yeah. Okay, so times 12, yeah, equals 60k. 60k times 10 equals $600,000. Without doing all the maths, you're currently worth $250,000.